Hello there, World of Tankers. Welcome back to one of my videos. I'm Blitz, and we are going to be going over the Object 252U, otherwise known as the Defender Tier 8 heavy tank that is in the stores right now. So, I personally did not buy this tank. I am not going to be spending really any money on the game anymore, just because of how expensive the game is, and I spent about $300 US trying to get the AMX-30B. And did not receive it in a crate, so I was so frustrated I stopped playing the game for about a month, and that's why I didn't post any YouTube videos, if you were wondering. I'm back now, and I'm not going to be really trying to spend any money on the game, which is good. So if any of you buy new vehicles, send me replays over, and I will hopefully put them in my videos. Now, back to the action. This is my friend. He is running the Object 252U, and I'm going to be talking a bit about the tank, its armor profile, its weak spots, and how to play this vehicle. So, starting off, one of the defining factors of this tank is the 440 Alpha gun, which is really helpful in most situations because you can hold enemy lines more efficiently because people are going to have a harder time pushing on you. And not to mention, this tank is such a strong armor profile, you're able to bounce half the shots that are fired at you. Now, the cupolas on the top of the turret are a big weak spot. They may look small, but you can still accurately hit them with some tank destroyers. I was running the Larva, and I still managed to hit the top of the turret pretty accurately from at least 100 meters away. So that is one tip on how to take out this vehicle if you don't know. They're about 150 thick. I will have a little clip on the top showing you the armor profile. It's about 300 to 400 thick in the front plate. You really can't penetrate it. This is a really strong tank to side scrape with. And the lower plate's about 160 to 180, so it's not super thick, but as long as you can hide that lower plate, this thing is impenetrable, because this turret is solid 300 to 280 thick, so you're really not going to have trouble bouncing shots in this tank. This side armor, it is spaced, so high explosive will have a very hard time penetrating it, and if you actually look at the rear armor, the rear is over 100, which means that no Tier 8 tank destroyer or Tier 9 will be able to pen you with high explosive. Now, this RHM really messed up, and you can see right there how thick that track armor is and the spaced armor, as RHM has a hard time penetrating that thick Russian armor with the 152mm. The tracks absorb that shot right into them. So you can see this tank has very good benefits. Now, it does have quite a long reload at 14 seconds, but it's not terrible. It's only about a second and a half longer than the normal IS, and for the alpha you get, it's really worth it. Now, the high explosive penetration isn't great, but you do get a bit more high explosive damage, about 560, so that is pretty good. Now, you can see that from watching this video, my friend hasn't actually been doing a crazy amount of damage. Even with this high explosive penetrating that RHM, it only did about 496, which is very odd. So I have noted that when he's been platooning with me, the damage of the gun really doesn't half the time even pull out 400, so it's quite odd. But I will say another thing that isn't the best is the accuracy. It's not going to be hitting anything super accurate. You will need to wait and aim, but that's fine because you do have a bit more higher damage, so you can afford to take the time to aim to have your shells penetrate. Now, this was a pretty good game for my friend. He blocked 860 damage. He's already done 1500. I'm running the IS-5. I wanted to compare the IS-5 to the Defender just to see how well it could do, and the Defender seems to be pretty similar in general. So if you know how to run an IS-5, you'll do fine in the Defender. It's got about the same armor profile. It's a bit thicker on the upper plate, but it's lower on the lower plate. And the side armor is a bit worse than the IS-5, but the rear is thicker. Now, this tank has about the same top speed as an IS-5. Its acceleration is a bit slower, but it will get to the battle quickly, and you should be fine. Now, my friend finished this game with 2300 damage, 1200 blocked. He did really well. you can see how well this tank can do, and he earned 60,000 credits, and this is a premium tank, so you will be earning credits fine. So overall, this is a really well tank. And now I'll get into the second replay. Now this is going to be on Canyon. I am still platooned with my friend. We probably platooned for about a couple hours over the past day, just to get some good gameplay for you guys to watch. So if you do like this video, please leave a like and a comment down below, sharing your ideas and thoughts for the future, just because these videos take a while to make, and I appreciate the views they get. Now, into the action, my friend is going to be pushing pretty aggressively in this game. He does overall really well, and this will highlight some of the strong points of the armor and the accuracy of the gun, how it's not amazing. I'm in the 49. I'm going to be pushing up, trying to spot for my friend here and help him out trying to penetrate his shots. And again, as you watch this replay, you will see that some of the shells really don't do that maximum amount of damage it can. So it is quite odd. Now, you can see this tank isn't extremely fast, as I talked about before. It goes around 35, so its power-to-weight ratio isn't the best, but it doesn't really matter that much because you have a bigger gun. You can hold off lines much better, and your armor profile is better than an IS-5, so you sacrifice a bit of the mobility, but you get better firepower and a better armor profile. So it is a pretty good trade overall. And you can see the penetration is very good, as my friend could penetrate the front of that Ferdinand with AP rounds. But again, you can see that the AP rounds just didn't do that amount of damage they should have, only doing around 398 that shell. So it is quite odd on how the shells don't have the most amount of damage. Now I tracked this guy so my friend could shoot him again, and again you can see only 357 with an AP round. So I'm not sure if Wargaming messed up the numbers with this tank or they did something wrong, because that shouldn't be happening. 357 is almost the lowest number you can possibly roll with this vehicle, and my friend pretty much rolls this average. Now, you can see the accuracy is very bad in this tank, but you should be up and brawling with the heavy tanks, so your accuracy shouldn't be that much of a matter. You can also see that the armor profile still manages to bounce that heat round of the SU-122-44, and finally my friend gets that 440 alpha damage to go through. Now, you can see that he is being very smart there for the first couple minutes by using the hill to hide his lower plate. That is one thing I would suggest you should do, is when you are trying to hold in the defensive position, you want to hide your lower plate. So, as you can see here, you can side scrape on rocks, you can hide your lower plate with little hills and bumps that stick up, and it does really well at it. Now, my friend here is in a pretty tough scenario, but you can see that when the gun does penetrate and it does do its average damage, it can be quite damaging. And again, that SU just bounces right off the rear of his tank, and the armor is just ridiculous at some points. Another high rolling gun, and he is now sitting at 2,500 damage with 780 blocked, and he's doing really well. And you can see that the reload isn't that bad after a while, so it's not in overall a bad tank. Now, the big issue for me with this vehicle is how much it costs. It costs $45 to get its stock. And the issue with that is you can earn an IS-5 for pretty much $5, and it's so similar to this vehicle, if not a little bit better, because it's quicker. This tank is a bit more basic than the IS-5 on how it's slower and has more armor with a more damaging gun, so it's a bit easier to run. But the IS-5 is just as effective as this tank in the battlefield, if not a little bit more, because it can actually get into position faster. So overall, I really don't feel this vehicle is completely worth it. I wouldn't suggest to go out and purchase this vehicle. Not yet. Wait until it's a bit cheaper in the store, maybe $30, because As of right now, you can get so many other tanks, like the Chinese heavy tanks. The Glacial 112 comes out every month or so for about $15 to $20. That vehicle has a better upper plate than this tank, and its gun's about the same accuracy. So overall, to be honest, I wouldn't suggest to buy this vehicle. It's not worth all the money it costs. Now, I do think it is a good tank, don't get me wrong. If you have already purchased it, don't feel bad. It is good. It's just, in my opinion, not the best it could have possibly been. If you did like the video, make sure to subscribe, like, and leave a comment down below stating your thoughts. I do have a Patreon. I'll leave the link down below if you want to help support me out and help my channel grow. Thank you, and I will see you in the next video.